What remains hidden from most individuals regarding Christmas is this: the specific date, the customs we follow, even the festivities we hold sacred in modern times. Virtually none of these originated as practices within Christianity. Throughout this documentary, we will follow a journey spanning 2,000 years, revealing how the 25th of December transformed from celebrations of ancient paganism into what became the central focal point of Christianity's calendar. Our exploration will examine how Rome influenced this transformation, the contributions from medieval times that gave the holiday its shape, and the unexpected reality surrounding your evergreen tree, the exchange of presents, and yes, even the figure of Santa Claus. Plus, we'll uncover why absolutely none of these traditions initially connected to the birth of Jesus Christ in any way. Should this space on the internet seem like somewhere you'd enjoy spending time, please take a second to give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe, but do so only if what I create here genuinely resonates with you. As I always say, hearing from you means everything to me. Feel free to say hello down in the comments section, share with us your location in the world, and what hour of the day it happens to be where you are. This becomes our method of coming together around a collective fire, despite being separated by great distances. Once again, my gratitude for being here with me today. So, with no more delay, let us dive in. Beyond the manger scene, Christmas makes its appearance every year with the inevitability of the winter season. Families come together, decorative lights shimmer, young ones imagine gifts waiting under adorned trees. The 25th day of December stands out on the calendar with worldwide acknowledgement, a specific date recognized throughout every continent and among diverse cultures. However, hidden beneath this recognizable celebration exists a puzzle from history that has captivated researchers for hundreds of years. The Gospel accounts from Matthew and Luke describe shepherds alongside angels, a guiding star, and learned men carrying offerings. These texts speak of Mary together with Joseph, of their travel to Bethlehem, of an infant born destined to transform the entire world. However, examine these texts from antiquity as thoroughly as you desire. No mention of the month of December will appear, no allusion to the winter season, absolutely no specific date whatsoever. This notable absence brings up questions of profound importance. How did humanity's most widely recognized birthday end up being observed on the 25th of December? Those who followed Jesus in the earliest days left behind no documentation of marking the day of his birth. For these early believers, the resurrection carried far more weight and importance than the circumstances of the Nativity. So, from where did our Christmas date emerge? The explanation threads its way through festivals of Rome and calculations based on theology, through conflicts between cultures and choices made by church authorities. It presents a narrative of adjustment and change, of traditions from ancient times being reimagined and given new life. Beyond being simply a fact of history, the establishment of Christmas as a date shows us how communities of faith work through the complications that culture and time present. Certain researchers direct attention toward the Roman celebration of Sol Invictus, representing the unconquered sun, which took place on the 25th of December. Other scholars follow complex theological reasoning, rooted in assumptions about when Jesus was conceived. Evidence from archaeology and writings from ancient times provide hints and clues, yet no single piece of documentation declares outright why this date was chosen. The path toward comprehending December the 25th guides us into the underground catacombs of Rome, into gatherings of bishops, across the separation between Christianity in the East and Christianity in the West. We come across emperors alongside theologians, traders alongside missionaries, with each individual contributing something to the establishment of this date, now displayed on countless billions of calendars around the globe. Moving past simple curiosity about history, this journey of discovery sheds light on the ways religious customs develop and change over time. The narrative surrounding the 25th of December shows us that even our most firmly established traditions possess histories, often surprising, consistently human, and endlessly captivating. While we follow this story from ancient Palestine, moving through imperial Rome, arriving at Victorian sitting rooms where numerous modern Christmas customs found their form, certain patterns start to reveal themselves. We observe how faith communities react to the cultures that surround them, at times pushing back, at times absorbing influences, continuously adapting. The date of Christmas transforms into a window through which we can study 2 full millennia of exchange between cultures and development of religious practice. This concealed history adds depth to the holiday's significance rather than taking anything away from it. Gaining understanding of how the 25th of December became Christmas Day shows us the active, living quality of traditions. It demonstrates how narratives considered sacred discover fresh expressions spanning centuries and across civilizations. This evening, we begin this journey through history, not with the intention of questioning faith, but rather to enhance our appreciation. The narrative of the 25th of December serves as a reminder that traditions we assume to be eternal frequently possess very human starting points. They take shape through both choices and accidents, through intentional decisions and slow evolution over time. From the absence of information in the Gospels to the worldwide celebration familiar to us now, the road leading to the 25th of December passes through unexpected terrain. Deities of the sun, from ancient times and meticulous theologians, festivals during winter and computations regarding spring, all of these contribute individual threads to the woven tapestry of Christmas history. As we investigate each individual thread, keep in mind that history seldom provides straightforward explanations. The placement of Christmas on the 25th of December probably resulted from numerous influences coming together across the passage of centuries. Pressures from politics, reasoning based on theology, traditions popular among common people, and practical matters all contributed their individual parts. This layered complexity enriches the story, rather than diminishing it. The date reveals Christmas as a tradition that lives and breathes, something that has expanded and shifted while keeping its core character intact. The specific date we now view as impossible to separate from Christmas came about through very human mechanisms of decision-making, discussion, and slow acceptance across time. So, get comfortable as we travel backward through time, pursuing the trail of proof that brings us to the 25th of December. Throughout this journey, we will encounter individuals of great interest and discover connections that surprise us. We will observe how a date nowhere mentioned in sacred scripture transformed into among the most widely known days throughout all of human culture. Moving beyond mere dates and historical facts, this investigation provides understanding into the ways traditions take form and undergo transformation. It brings clarity to the continuous conversation between faith and culture, between truths from ancient times and how they find expression in contemporary life. The history of the 25th of December ultimately tells a deeply human story, one about communities attempting to give honor to what is sacred within the patterns and cycles of time on earth. The 2 narratives from the Gospels, Luke in contrast to Matthew, the account of Jesus coming into the world reaches us through 2 separate voices found in the New Testament. Luke, together with Matthew, both writing many decades following the events they recorded, provide the sole biblical descriptions of the Nativity. However, these 2 accounts, though both treasured within Christian tradition, present stories that differ in remarkable ways. The Gospel of Luke offers the version most recognizable from Christmas plays and songs. Within this account we discover Mary and Joseph making their way from Nazareth toward Bethlehem because of a census commanded by Caesar Augustus. The trip becomes challenging for Mary, far along in her pregnancy. Once they reach their destination, they look for a place to stay but discover no available room at the inn. The infant comes into the world and gets placed inside a manger, which serves as a feeding container for livestock. On that very same night, as Luke tells it, shepherds keep watch over their animals in fields close by. Without warning, a heavenly messenger makes an appearance, delivering news of tremendous joy. A vast number of heavenly beings unite in songs of praise, and the shepherds rush toward Bethlehem. they locate the baby precisely as the angel had described, resting in a manger. Following their visit, they share widely what they had seen and heard. The account from Luke carries an air of modest simplicity. Shepherds stood among the lowest ranks of society, frequently viewed as witnesses lacking credibility according to Jewish law. And yet, to these individuals, the announcement from heaven arrives first. The location speaks to conditions of poverty and being displaced, a stable that wasn't theirs, a cradle fashioned from necessity, guests who carried the scent of livestock and open fields. Matthew presents an account entirely different. His narrative opens not with travel, but rather with a genealogy, following Jesus' ancestry through David back to Abraham. Mary becomes pregnant, and Joseph, portrayed as a man of righteousness, makes plans to end their betrothal discreetly. A heavenly messenger comes to him while he sleeps, clarifying the divine nature of the child's origin and directing him to proceed with taking Mary as his wife. The actual birth receives only passing reference in Matthew's account. Rather, the attention turns toward enigmatic visitors arriving from eastern lands. These magi, frequently referred to as wise men, pursue a star guiding them initially to Jerusalem. They inquire of King Herod regarding the location of the infant born to be king among the Jews. Herod, deeply disturbed by this inquiry, seeks counsel from religious authorities who indicate Bethlehem based on prophecy from ancient times. The star makes another appearance, directing the Magi toward the dwelling where they locate the child together with Mary. They present offerings of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, valuable materials indicating royalty, divine nature, and eventual death. Receiving warning through a dream against returning to Herod, they leave by a different path. Matthew's account continues with elements of darkness nowhere found in Luke. Herod, enraged at being outsmarted, commands the killing of every male infant in Bethlehem younger than 2 years. Joseph, alerted through yet another dream from an angel, escapes with Mary and Jesus toward Egypt. They stay there until the death of Herod occurs, afterward returning to make their home in Nazareth. These two narratives hold certain fundamental elements in common. Mary serving as mother, Joseph as guardian on earth, the birth taking place in Bethlehem, intervention from the divine through angels. However, the ways they differ prove just as remarkable. Luke places emphasis on humility and events happening immediately. The birth occurs in the midst of a journey announced to shepherds in the nearby area. Matthew offers a timeline stretched out further, with Magi potentially arriving many months or possibly as long as 2 years following the birth. Of crucial importance to our examination, neither gospel supplies markers related to time. Luke references a census during the governorship of Quirinius over Syria, but the census we know Quirinius conducted took place in 6 of the Common Era, which falls years following Herod's death in 4. Before the Common Era, establishing a substantial puzzle regarding chronology. Matthew makes reference to the reign of Herod, which came to its end in 4, before the Common Era, according to the understanding of most historians. These references assist in creating a general period in time, yet they provide no particular date or time of year. The absence of information extends even further. Neither account makes mention of weather that is cold, despite centuries of Christmas imagery potentially causing us to anticipate it. The shepherds, together with the fields, actually point toward a season different from winter, given that winter weather would normally result in flocks being sheltered indoors. Neither story gives any indication of Jesus' age when the Magi made their appearance, although Herod's command targeting infants as old as 2 years suggests some amount of time had gone by. Christmas celebrations in modern times combine elements pulled from both gospel accounts. Scenes of the nativity position shepherds alongside Magi in the same setting, despite the texts indicating their arrivals happened separately. We sing songs about 3 kings, even though Matthew never provides a number for the Magi or identifies them as kings. The tradition of 3 derives from the 3 presents that receive mention. This foundation in the texts holds significance because it reveals what the earliest sources within Christianity chose to preserve and what they did not. The writers of the Gospels, more concerned with meaning related to theology than with details of biography, felt no requirement to document the date when Jesus was born. For these writers, what the event signified mattered far more than where it belonged on a calendar. Both Gospel writers compose their accounts with definite purposes that go beyond simple recording of history. Luke emphasizes how God cares for those who are humble and pushed to the margins, offering a Savior whose birth receives its first announcement to shepherds. Matthew highlights the royal lineage of Jesus and the way Hebrew prophecy found fulfillment, demonstrating even sages from Gentile lands acknowledging the infant king. These priorities, rooted in theology, influenced what each writer chose to include and what each decided to leave out. Neither demonstrated concern for preserving the sort of details about a person's life that readers in modern times might anticipate. The date someone was born, which carries such importance in how we mark birthdays now, appeared to hold no significance for those who wrote the Gospels or for the people who first heard them. The absence communicates volumes regarding what early Christians considered important. Believers in the first century placed their focus on the teachings of Jesus, his death, and his resurrection. The details surrounding his birth held importance mainly in how they revealed who he was and what his purpose entailed. The question of when during the year this birth took place appeared unimportant when measured against what it signified for all of humanity. As Christianity expanded beyond its origins in Jewish culture into the world shaped by Greece and Rome, fresh questions started to emerge. Those converting from different backgrounds carried with them varying expectations and frameworks shaped by their cultures. Some arrived from traditions that marked divine births and patterns in the cosmos. The silence found in the Gospels concerning when Jesus was born would in time create room for fresh traditions to take shape. However, for at minimum, the first 100 years following Jesus, those who followed him perceived no requirement to address this silence. They came together to share bread in remembrance of his death and resurrection. They passed along his teachings and lived in expectation of his return. But they left behind no proof of marking his birthday or even expressing curiosity about when it might have occurred. This foundation in Scripture, or more accurately, the absence of one, establishes the context for what would develop later. The Gospels supply abundant narrative and significance related to theology while staying silent regarding details of chronology. That silence would receive answers eventually, but not for many generations yet to come. The path from the narratives found in the Gospels to the 25th of December would turn out to be lengthy and full of turns, influenced by elements the Gospel writers never could have predicted. The silence from the early church, a date lost to memory. For close to 200 years following the writing of the Gospel narratives, Christians displayed remarkably minimal interest in marking the birthday of Jesus. This silence communicates more powerfully than any declaration would, bringing to light fundamental contrasts between how ancient people and modern people approach religious observance. Communities of early Christians came together in private homes and concealed locations, sharing bread in remembrance of the final meal shared. They kept the Sabbath, marked Passover with fresh significance, and with increasing frequency honored the first day of each week as the Lord's Day, commemorating when he rose from death. However, the month of December brought no particular observances, no celebrations of the Nativity, no festivities marking their Savior's birthday. This absence didn't happen by accident or because knowledge had been lost. On the contrary, it showed intentional decisions rooted in theology. Origen from Alexandria, among the most significant theological thinkers of the 3rd century, directly discussed celebrations of birthdays in his written works. He observed that within Scripture, only individuals engaged in sin, such as Pharaoh together with Herod, marked birthdays with celebrations. Saints and prophets, as he noticed, observed no such occasions. Following the reasoning of Origen, celebrations of birthdays belonged to culture outside Christianity, not to Christian custom. He put forward the argument that Scripture documented birthdays only for those engaged in wrongdoing, like Pharaoh and Herod, never for saints. This perspective shows us how strange the practice of commemorating birthdays appeared to thought in early Christianity. They connected such festivals with displays of earthly grandeur and the excesses found in paganism, not with spiritual commitment. The attention of the early church stayed directed firmly toward death and resurrection instead of birth. Dates when martyrs died received careful preservation and commemoration. Communities assembled once each year to recall when their champions of faith had experienced birth into life eternal by means of death. These birthdays into heaven carried far greater weight than birthdays on earth. Considerations of a practical nature support this position based on theology. Throughout intervals of persecution, arriving in successive waves across the initial 3 centuries, Christians gave priority to staying alive and to practices considered essential. Creating an elaborate festival for the birthday of Jesus would have appeared trivial when believers encountered the threat of imprisonment or execution simply for assembling to worship. In addition, the early church found itself wrestling with basic questions regarding the nature of Jesus. Was he entirely human, entirely divine, or some blending of both? These debates regarding Christology absorbed tremendous amounts of energy and produced vast quantities of written material. Within discussions of this nature, the precise date of when the divine took human form appeared less urgent than gaining understanding of what this taking of human form actually meant. Certain writers from early Christianity did engage in speculation regarding when Jesus might have entered the world, yet their contemplations aimed toward insight related to theology rather than planning for worship services. Clement from Alexandria, composing his thoughts around the year 200 of the Common Era, referenced various dates put forward by different groups of people. Some mentioned the 20th of April, while others suggested the 20th of May. He acknowledged these conversations with interest appropriate to academic study, but displayed no worry about creating an official date for observance. The Jewish foundations of Christianity also shaped this early silence. Tradition among Jewish people at that time placed no emphasis on celebrating birthdays in the manner that culture influenced by Greece and Rome did. The Hebrew Bible documents very few birthdays, and writings from rabbis in later periods demonstrated uncertainty toward such practices. Christians in the early period, a large number coming from backgrounds in Judaism, received this framework from their culture. As Christianity moved in a westward direction into territories shaped by Greece and Rome, it came into contact with cultures that did in fact celebrate birthdays, particularly for deities and emperors. Religions centered on mysteries, which enjoyed popularity throughout the Roman Empire, frequently focused on the births, deaths, and rebirths of figures considered divine. However, rather than quickly adopting these existing patterns, Christians at first defined who they were by standing in opposition to such customs. This stance of resistance formed one part of a broader pattern of Christian distinctiveness. Believers in the early period worked to distinguish themselves from the pagan culture surrounding them through clothing, food choices, forms of entertainment, and practices of worship. Choosing not to celebrate birthdays, including the birthday of Christ, set them apart as different from those around them who gave honor to the dates when gods and Caesars were born. Tertullian, the passionate theological thinker from North Africa, served as an example of this stance, favoring separation. Composing his thoughts during the early part of the 3rd century, he spoke out against Christian involvement in festivals and customs associated with paganism. The very thought of establishing a Christian substitute for birthday celebrations practiced by pagans would have horrified him. For Tertullian, together with others who shared his views, such willingness to accommodate represented compromise of a dangerous nature. And yet, even as theologians delivered messages about separation, Christians living ordinary lives existed surrounded by festivities practiced by pagans. The calendar used in Rome overflowed with holidays connected to religion, celebrations honoring different gods, anniversaries connected to emperors, festivals tied to the seasons. Christians found it impossible to completely remove themselves from this environment filled with celebration. They engaged in commerce with those practicing paganism, on occasion attended celebrations held by pagan family members, and observed the public displays that occurred to mark religious holidays. This state of tension existing between separation and accommodation would with time play a role in bringing about change. As the 3rd century moved forward, Christianity expanded from being a minority, facing persecution, to becoming a presence of significance in numerous cities. What had functioned well for a small community under pressure might not prove suitable for a movement grown larger and more firmly established. By the latter part of the 3rd century, changes of a subtle nature started to appear. Art created by Christians in the catacombs started to show scenes of the Nativity, not as subjects for commemoration tied to specific dates, but rather as statements related to theology. These visual representations proclaimed the taking of human form by the divine without pointing toward any specific observance on the calendar. They demonstrated that although Christians had not yet begun to celebrate Christmas, they increasingly spent time contemplating the mystery of divine birth. The silence regarding the birthday of Jesus also created room for flexibility in approaches to spreading the faith. As Christianity reached new areas, those bringing the message could place their focus on beliefs considered essential without immediately creating conflict over every tradition practiced locally. The fact that no fixed date existed for the Nativity meant one potential source of conflict, less with traditions tied to indigenous calendars. Interestingly, while steering clear of celebrations of birthdays, early Christians created sophisticated approaches for determining dates carrying significance related to theology. They engaged in debate regarding when Easter should be observed, formulating intricate formulas, drawing on cycles of both the moon and the sun. This demonstrates they had both the capability and the desire to fix dates on the religious calendar when they considered it important. The reality that they chose not to direct such effort toward establishing a date for the birth of Jesus reinforces how peripheral this matter remained in their thinking. Easter, the celebration marking resurrection, required precise timing because it connected to Passover and to the history of salvation. The Nativity, as beautiful and filled with meaning as it was, didn't call for such precision regarding chronology according to their way of understanding. As the 3rd century drew toward its conclusion, however, transformations appeared on the horizon. The Roman Empire encountered crisis and went through change. Religions focused on mysteries gained followers. Christians discovered themselves in competition for those seeking conversion within a religious marketplace, growing increasingly complicated. The straightforward separatism practiced by earlier generations became more difficult to sustain. Furthermore, as theology within Christianity underwent development and reached wider areas, fresh questions started to surface. If God truly assumed human form in Jesus, shouldn't this event of cosmic importance receive celebration? If those practicing paganism honored the birthdays of their deities with such passion, didn't the restraint shown by Christians suggest their God deserved less honor? These questions, which would have been unimaginable to Origen, would shortly require responses. The silence from the early church regarding the 25th of December, indeed regarding any celebration of a birthday for Jesus, therefore reveals a movement centered on religion, confident in what made it distinct, concentrated on its core message, and feeling no concern about competing celebration for celebration with the culture around it. This would undergo dramatic transformation in the century approaching. However, comprehending where things began helps us recognize just how significant that transformation would be. The Roman competition, Saturnalia together with Sol Invictus. As the autumn season gave way to winter throughout ancient Rome, the city went through a transformation. The month of December delivered not peaceful contemplation but rather celebration, characterized by boisterous energy, as two significant festivals came to dominate the darkest period of the year. Gaining understanding of these celebrations practiced by pagans, Saturnalia, together with Sol Invictus, supplies context of crucial importance for the eventual appearance of Christmas on the 25th of December. Saturnalia commenced on the 17th of December and officially continued until the 23rd, despite the fact that celebrations frequently extended for longer periods. This festival gave honor to Saturn, the deity associated with agriculture and connected to a mythical era of gold characterized by plenty and equality. For the duration of 1 week, society in Rome flipped upside down, organized disorder that both excited and troubled those who observed it. Throughout Saturnalia, those enslaved shared meals with their masters, on occasion even receiving service from them. Gambling, which normally faced restrictions, became open and permissible under law. Citizens set aside the toga in favor of clothing with bright colors meant for dining. Presents moved between those who were friends and family members. Candles intended to push away the darkness, figurines crafted from clay for bringing good fortune, and delicacies of every kind imaginable. The phrase calling out Io Saturnalia echoed through the streets as the usual hierarchies in society temporarily broke down. All forms of work came to a halt, schools shut their doors, courts ceased operations, even carrying out of executions received postponement. The typically stern character of Rome gave way to an atmosphere resembling carnival. Seneca the Younger voiced complaints regarding the noise, composing words expressing that the entire city had descended into madness. He attempted to preserve composure befitting a philosopher while existing, surrounded by revelry, yet he confessed to the contagious quality the celebration possessed. The temporary quality of equality during the festival carried profound attraction for those occupying society's lower positions. People held in slavery could express themselves with freedom, participate openly in gambling, and experience a brief sample of what freedom felt like. Masters participated in the role reversal, recognizing that this release valve assisted in preserving order throughout the remainder of the year. Certain wealthy Romans discovered amusement in the reversal of roles. Others escaped to estates in the countryside until normalcy made its return. The act of feasting formed the very heart of Saturnalia. Banquets of elaborate nature stretched throughout the nights. Foods prepared especially for the occasion made their appearance. Pork cooked by roasting, wine sweetened with honey, fruits brought from distant lands. Romans, who typically exercised restraint in their habits, abandoned all moderation. Pliny the Elder, conscious of matters related to diet, recorded with disapproval the way his fellow citizens stuffed themselves with food, despite evidence indicating he took part himself. The giving of gifts during Saturnalia adhered to protocols of an elaborate nature. Martial, known for his clever poetry, composed satirical verses regarding the anxiety involved in choosing presents deemed appropriate. Patrons of wealth anticipated receiving gifts, showing cleverness from those who depended on them. Friends participated in exchanging symbols of their affection. Children took possession of toys and sweet treats. The aspect of commerce found in Christmas in modern times has roots reaching back to the markets of Rome during December in ancient times. Rituals performed publicly went hand in hand with celebrations of a private nature. The statue representing Saturn, typically secured with strips made of wool, underwent symbolic liberation for the festival's duration. Priests carried out sacrifices while crowds responded with cheering. Certain communities selected a Saturnalicious princeps, a king existing only in mockery who gave commands meant in playfulness that others felt obligated to follow. This lord, presiding over misrule, gave physical form to the inversions, characterizing the festival. While Saturnalia held dominance during the middle portion of December, the 25th possessed significance belonging to itself. This particular date marked Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, representing the birthday of the sun that cannot be conquered. In contrast to the roots of Saturnalia reaching back to ancient times, Sol Invictus stood for innovation of relatively recent imperial origin. Promoted in an official capacity by the Emperor Aurelian during the year 274 of the Common Era, The cult, dedicated to Sol Invictus, brought together various deities connected to the sun, worshipped throughout the empire. Worship of the sun, originating in Syria, mysteries associated with Mithras, and religion from traditional Roman practice merged together in this cult, receiving imperial backing. Aurelian, following victories achieved through military means in eastern regions, designated the god as the supreme patron representing Roman power. He ordered construction of a temple of magnificent proportions, brought into existence a new group of priests, and established games to be held every 4th year. The selection of the 25th of December for Sol Invictus carried meaning related to astronomy. Close to the winter solstice, those living in Rome could witness the sun making its return, with days starting to grow in length following their reaching of the shortest point. The sun that could not be conquered had made it through its deepest point of descent and started its climb back in the direction of summer strength. This victory, occurring in the cosmos, required celebration. Sol Invictus held particular appeal for those serving as soldiers and those holding positions as emperors. Standards carried by the military displayed symbols connected to the sun. Coins bore depictions of emperors adorned with rays resembling the sun. The connection linking divine light with power held by emperors became ideology stated in explicit terms. Constantine, prior to his turning toward Christianity, gave honor to Sol Invictus on both coins and monuments. The god stood for order, achieving triumph over disorder, light achieving conquest over darkness. The tendencies toward monotheism found in the cults centered on the sun also deserve attention. Although not practiced in an exclusive manner, Romans continued to give honor to other deities. Sol Invictus increasingly occupied a supreme position in propaganda from the imperial authority. Certain researchers observe this trend, favoring one god, as creating conditions conducive to Christian monotheism. The shift from giving honor to the sun that could not be conquered to directing worship toward the sun, characterized by righteousness, turned out to be smooth in terms of both language and concepts. People living ordinary lives celebrated the 25th of December with complexity of a more limited philosophical nature. They ignited fires to provide encouragement for the sun's return. Decorations made from plants staying green made their appearance. Holly, together with ivy and laurel, serving as symbols for life, continuing through the winter season. Candles burned with brightness in windows. Families came together for meals marked by festivity. The day signified renewal of hope, as the cycle found in nature turned in the direction of spring. These festivities, taking place in December, established the cultural environment, like an ocean, within which Christianity existed by the time of the 4th century. As Christians increased in their numbers and their influence, they found it impossible to pay no attention to the celebrations taking place around them. Those living nearby extended invitations to parties held for Saturnalia. Associates in business held expectations regarding exchanges of gifts tied to the season. Children raised questions about why their own families chose not to participate in public festivities. Certain Christians did in fact take part, creating worry among those leading the church. Tertullian had delivered warnings against participation in celebrations practiced by pagans, yet his strict philosophy of separation became increasingly difficult to maintain as Christianity reached wider areas. How could Christians remain engaged with society while steering clear of compromise regarding religion? This question took on urgency as the revelries of December came to dominate public existence. The attractions associated with these festivals extended beyond simple enjoyment. Saturnalia provided a vision showing social equality that created resonance with teaching from Christianity regarding all people being equal in the sight of God. Sol Invictus marked with celebration the conquest of darkness by light, imagery creating echoes with metaphors used by Christians. The festivals responded to needs experienced genuinely by human beings, bonding within the community during the darkness of winter, hope directed toward the return of light, temporary freedom from constraints imposed by society. And yet, dangers existed within accommodation. The revelry associated with Saturnalia frequently crossed over into behavior characterized by debauchery. Gambling, together with drunkenness and license of a sexual nature, came along with reversals of roles. The connections of the solar cults to imperial authority created trouble for Christians who had experienced suffering through persecution carried out under emperors who worshipped the sun. Taking part in these festivals could suggest acceptance of the religious content they contained. Those leading the church encountered a problem of a genuine nature. Absolute prohibition created risk of pushing away those who had converted and placing limits on spreading the faith. Total accommodation presented a threat to what made Christianity distinct. Some path, occupying the middle ground, became necessary, a method for responding to the human needs these festivals addressed, while keeping integrity related to theology intact. Different communities within Christianity created responses that varied. Some kept to strict separation, establishing gatherings serving as alternatives for believers during the season of festivals. Others permitted participation of a limited nature, agreeing to accept invitations to parties while steering clear of elements explicitly connected to religion. Still, others started conversations regarding whether meanings from Christianity could become attached to customs familiar from the seasons. The conditions had been established for transformation. The festivities occupying December on the Roman calendar had established expectations together with patterns that wouldn't simply vanish. The challenge presenting itself to Christianity in the 4th century involved how to provide response to practices embedded deeply in culture. Could festivals practiced by pagans undergo conquest and conversion similar to temples belonging to pagans? Or would accommodation result in corruption? As Christianity shifted from being a minority facing persecution to receiving favor from imperial authority under Constantine, these questions required answers of a practical nature. The dilemma presented by December, involving how to address Saturnalia together with Sol Invictus, would make a significant contribution to the creation of Christmas. The competitions from Rome had fixed December as a time associated with light, the act of giving gifts, and celebration. Whether through competition or through transformation, Christianity would find it necessary to provide response to this reality rooted in culture. The choice arrived at through calculation, the hypothesis from the history of religions. The transformation found its beginning in Rome throughout the 4th century. As Constantine made Christianity legal and favor from imperial authority took the place of persecution, those leading the church encountered challenges of a new nature. Among these challenges stood the question of how to address the magnetic attraction exerted by the festivals practiced by pagans during December. The explanation holding the most popularity among scholars for the 25th of December, recognized as the hypothesis from the history of religions, points toward a strategy characterized by deliberate intent involving replacement together with redemption. In accordance with this theory, authorities within the Roman Church made a conscious selection of the 25th of December to supply an alternative rooted in Christianity to Sol Invictus. Rather than engaging in the futile effort of forbidding involvement in celebrations enjoying popularity, they provided something superior: the birth of the genuine Son, characterized by righteousness, matching the description the prophet Malachi had given regarding the Messiah destined to come. This substitution, carried out with strategic intent, would permit Christians to participate in celebration while keeping purity related to theology. The calendar of Philocalus, from the year 354 of the Common Era, holds what might represent our evidence appearing earliest and most definite for Christmas falling on the 25th of December, with the entry quite possibly tracing back to approximately the year 336 of the Common Era. This almanac featuring illustrations provides lists of festivals from Christianity positioned alongside dates from traditional Roman observance. Beneath the 25th of December, it records in simple terms, Natus Christus in Bethlehem Iudaeae, Christ born in Bethlehem of Judea. The entry presented as matter of fact points toward a practice already in place, rather than something representing innovation. Documents from the Church originating in this time period bring to light the creativity related to theology, put to use in providing justification for the date. Writers from Christianity drew connections in parallel form between Christ and imagery connected to the Son found throughout Scripture. Had not Malachi delivered prophecy regarding the Son of Righteousness ascending with healing carried in its wings? Did not the Gospel of John offer description of Jesus as the light entering into the world? The connection appeared to carry divine intention. Ambrose from Milan, composing his thoughts during the latter portion of the 4th century, stated these connections in explicit terms. He identified Christ as the genuine Son who passed through the darkness, profound in nature, found in the underworld, and radiated with the brilliance characteristic of fresh light. Language of this nature deliberately created echoes of, and went beyond, worship of, the Son practiced by pagans. For what reason should anyone give honor to the Son that was created when the option existed to direct worship toward the one who created it? The theory involving substitution received support from the smoothness with which celebration by Christians mapped onto customs already in existence. Similar to those devoted to Sol Invictus, Christians possess the ability to speak regarding the victory of their deity over darkness. The turning point in astronomical terms represented by days increasing in length supplied metaphor in ready form for the dawning of salvation. Habits already existing related to celebration during December required only redirection in a theological sense. This process, referred to on occasion as enculturation by researchers in modern times, makes appearances throughout the history of Christianity. Missionaries frequently discovered success resulted from adapting rather than launching attacks on customs practiced locally. In the same way that temples belonging to pagans transformed into churches and deities, honored locally transformed into saints, the 25th of December possessed the capacity to undergo a shift from Sol Invictus to the Mass for Christ. The date stayed constant. Only the meaning it carried underwent change. Pope Leo I, delivering sermons during the 5th century, brought to light tensions that continued during this transformation. He delivered scolding to Christians who continued to bow in the direction of the sun as it rose prior to making their entry into St. Peter's Basilica. With clarity, habits from the past proved resistant to dying. His sermon demonstrates both the achievement and the incomplete nature of the strategy involving substitution. Although Christmas had in an official capacity taken the place of Sol Invictus, certain individuals engaged in worship chose to protect themselves by hedging their commitments. The calculation carried out in Rome involved more than straightforward replacement. Those leading the church filled the 25th of December with significance related to theology, possessing richness that went beyond anything found in tradition practiced by pagans. The Incarnation, representing God assuming human form, stood for significance of a cosmic nature surpassing any birth considered divine in mythology. This wasn't simply one more birthday belonging to a god, but rather the word existing from eternity, making its entry into time. The genuine light exceeded in brilliance all those who competed. Evidence found in art provides support for the hypothesis involving substitution. Containers for remains, together with paintings found in catacombs originating from Christians during this time period, showed with increasing frequency depictions of Christ possessing attributes connected to the sun. Rays of light going outward from his head, imagery connected to dawn and to sunrise. These selections made in art point toward appropriation carried out with deliberate intent of symbolism, familiar from solar sources for purposes belonging to Christianity. The strategy reached beyond the boundaries of Rome. As Christianity moved through the empire in a spreading motion, the 25th of December supplied an alternative, possessing uniformity to different festivals tied to winter practiced locally. Whether those converting arrived from worship of the sun, originating in Syria, mysteries associated with Mithras, or religion from traditional Roman practice, they possessed the ability to discover elements familiar to them, given fresh interpretation within Christmas. The quality of universality found in symbolism connected to the sun rendered this particularly effective. Those who criticized Christianity in its early period took notice and expressed mockery regarding these connections existing in parallel. The Emperor Julian, who made an attempt at bringing back paganism, directed attention towards similarities existing between claims made by Christians regarding Jesus and myths told regarding deities connected to the sun. Rather than offering denial of these parallels, those defending Christianity through apologetics, such as Augustine, presented the argument that myths practiced by pagans held glimpses showing distortion of truth, receiving full revelation in Christ. The similarities served as proof not of Christians engaging in borrowing, but rather of pagans experiencing anticipation. The strategy involving substitution also responded to needs of a social nature rooted in practical reality. Romans held expectations regarding celebration during the latter portion of December. Connections within society experienced renewal by means of feasting together with the giving of gifts. Through the establishment of Christmas, the Church supplied an outlet for these expectations, shaped by culture within a framework belonging to Christianity. Those converting didn't face the requirement of setting aside all customs familiar to them, only the associations these customs held with paganism. Elements related to economics probably played a role in influencing the decision as well. Markets operating during December, oriented toward gifts intended for Saturnalia, possessed the capacity to serve those shopping for Christmas with equal effectiveness. Merchants, whose livelihoods depended on trade tied to the season, wouldn't put up resistance to a religion maintaining their base of customers. The infrastructure related to commerce belonging to festivals practiced by pagans underwent transfer without difficulty to use by Christians. And yet, the hypothesis originating from the history of religions encounters certain challenges. No document that has survived from the 4th century delivers an explicit statement reading, "We made the selection of the 25th of December for the purpose of countering Sol Invictus." Fathers of the Church who supplied justification for the date in theological terms never confessed to calculation carried out with strategic intent. This silence could be a reflection of discretion. Acknowledging in an open manner the act of borrowing from paganism would work to undermine claims regarding the uniqueness of Christianity. In addition, correlation doesn't serve as proof of causation. The fact that Christmas made its appearance on the date belonging to Sol Invictus could be a reflection of coincidence rather than strategy. Perhaps calculations, rooted in theology, led in an independent manner to the 25th of December, with parallels to the sun turning out to be fortunate yet unplanned. The record left by history permits interpretations of multiple kinds. Certain researchers offer the observation that communities of Christians had experienced growth of sufficient size by the time of the 4th century to generate their own momentum. Rather than experiencing the need to provide accommodation to paganism, the Church held cultural power of sufficient degree to create practices independent in nature. Viewed from this perspective, the 25th of December stands for an assertion of confidence on the part of Christians, rather than accommodation directed toward pressure from pagans. The theory involving substitution also makes the assumption, perhaps to an excessive degree, of strategy arrived at through calculation among those leading the Church. Development in matters of religion frequently takes place by means of evolution, occurring in a gradual manner rather than through decisions reached by committee. The 25th of December could have made its appearance by means of interactions characterized by complexity between practice enjoyed by common people and recognition provided in an official capacity rather than through decree, coming from positions at the top going downward. In spite of these qualifications, the hypothesis originating from the history of religions continues to hold compelling force for reasons numbering several. The timing appears too convenient to be dismissed as coincidence. Christmas, making its appearance precisely as Christianity obtained support from imperial authority and faced the need to provide response to festivals practiced by pagans. The imagery connected to the sun, adopted by art, created by Christians and by rhetoric, appears to carry deliberate intent. The transfer occurring with smoothness of customs from context belonging to pagans into context belonging to Christians points toward accommodation carried out with intention. In addition, this explanation creates alignment with strategies belonging to Christians that are known from the time period. The 4th century witnessed conversions of temples on a massive scale, absorption of concepts originating in philosophy, and adaptation of imagery belonging to emperors for use by Christians. The act of claiming the 25th of December creates a fit with this pattern of larger scope involving appropriation characterized by creativity. The Church demonstrated ability remarkable in nature to baptize elements originating in paganism into service belonging to Christianity. The brilliance of this strategy, if indeed it represented strategy, existed in transformation rather than in mere substitution. Christmas didn't engage in simply replacing Sol Invictus. It surpassed it and gave it transformation. The birth of Christ carried implications. No myth originating in paganism possessed the capacity to equal. God, making entry into the history of humanity, went beyond any narrative telling of divine appearance. The light characterized as true exceeded in brilliance all those who stood as rivals. This process required generations to reach completion. All through the 4th century, together with the 5th, celebrations belonging to pagans and celebrations belonging to Christians existed in positions side by side, on occasion creating blends in ways that caused trouble for authorities in the Church. However, in a gradual manner, the 25th of December transformed into something associated exclusively with the birth of Christ. The transformation achieved success of such thoroughness that most Christians with time forgot entirely the associations the date held with paganism. Through the act of selecting the 25th of December, whether by means of strategy arrived at through calculation or through development guided by providence, the Church accomplished objectives numbering multiple in nature. It supplied Christians with celebration taking place within the community throughout the season marked by festivities. It redirected impulses connected to religion already in existence toward purposes belonging to Christianity. It showed the ability of Christianity to bring fulfillment to and rise above longings associated with paganism. The promise held by the winter solstice regarding light making its return discovered its ultimate expression in the light belonging to the world. The calculation rooted in theology. The hypothesis involving computation. Although the theory involving substitution provides a narrative holding compelling force, a different explanation for the 25th of December comes forth from the mathematics characterized by mysticism found in thought from early Christianity. This hypothesis, centered on calculation, puts forward the suggestion that the date came about not from accommodation carried out with strategic intent, but rather from reasoning rooted in theology regarding symmetry found in the cosmos and kosmos, perfection of a divine nature. The foundation finds its support on a conviction from ancient times referred to as the concept of integral age. Certain thinkers from Jewish tradition and early Christianity maintained the view that prophets of great importance made their entrance into the world and their departure from the world on the identical date according to the calendar. Their lives created circles of perfect form, showing harmony of a divine nature. This principle, when given application to Jesus, would produce conclusions regarding chronology of a surprising nature. Christians in the early period held unanimous belief that Jesus departed from life on Passover, despite the fact that they engaged in debate regarding the date with precision. Tradition in the West positioned the crucifixion on the 25th of March, whereas churches in the East arrived at the 6th of April through calculation. These dates transformed into points fixed in nature within chronology belonging to Christianity, serving as anchors for all other forms of calculation. The imagination rooted in theology belonging to Christians in the early period then established a connection of profound significance. If Jesus departed from life on the 25th of March, Could it not be that this date also marks a different moment of crucial importance within a cosmos governed by symmetry of a divine nature? Perhaps the Word assumed flesh on the identical date, according to the calendar, that the Word made its departure from flesh. The 25th of March possessed the potential to mark both conclusion and commencement. However, which beginning? At this point, thought from early Christianity assumed a turn decidedly philosophical in character. The moment when the divine took human form, the point at which divinity made entrance into humanity, took place not at the moment of birth, but rather at the moment of conception. The Annunciation, the point when Mary gave acceptance to the message delivered by the angel, stood for the genuine beginning of history involving salvation. The Word, existing from eternity, transformed into flesh in embryonic form at that very instant. This maneuver, rooted in theology, carried implications of a practical nature. If Jesus underwent conception on the 25th of March, then the period of gestation normal for humans would position his birth 9 months following on the 25th of December. The calculation had no requirement for making reference to festivals practiced by pagans, no thinking of a strategic nature regarding accommodation related to culture. Reasoning characterized by purity in theological terms led in a direct manner to the date. Sextus Julius Africanus, composing his works during the early portion of the 3rd century, supplies some among the earliest proof for calculations of this nature. His works focused on chronology, despite surviving only in portions that are fragments, demonstrate that scholars from Christianity were already engaged in computing dates, drawing on principles rooted in theology rather than on memory of a historical nature. The approach gave treatment to Scripture as something encoding harmonies of a mathematical nature awaiting the act of discovery. The calculation, running in parallel, belonging to the Church in the East, provides reinforcement for this hypothesis. Beginning from the 6th of April for the crucifixion, they positioned conception on this identical date, bringing about birth on the 6th of January, which is Epiphany. This provides explanation for why Christianity in the East initially marked with celebration both the Nativity and the baptism together on the 6th of January, prior to adopting at a later time the 25th of December for birth. While keeping the 6th of January for the baptism and the baptism, visit from the Magi. Augustine from Hippo gave endorsement in explicit terms to this method involving calculation. Composing his thoughts during the early portion of the 5th century, he delivered the statement that Jesus underwent conception on the 25th of March, on which very day he also experienced suffering. The bishop demonstrated no awareness of engaging in competition with festivals practiced by pagans. For him, the date came forth from logic rooted in theology regarding perfection of a divine nature and order found in the cosmos. This method, centered on calculation, shows reflection of patterns of broader scope within thought from early Christianity. The fathers of the Church discovered delight in the act of finding patterns of a numerical nature and symmetries within Scripture and within history. They performed calculations on genealogies, gave interpretation to numbers found in prophecy, and pursued harmonies of a mathematical nature, bringing revelation of the plan belonging to God, characterized by order. The 25th of December created a fit of perfect nature into this manner of viewing the world. The concept of integral age, by itself, merits examination of closer nature. For what reason would thinkers from ancient times make the assumption that prophets experienced death on the dates of their birth or the dates of their conception? The idea appears to show reflection of beliefs running deep regarding justice found in the cosmos and the quality of completion. A life characterized by perfection ought to create a circle perfect in temporal terms. Providence of a divine nature wouldn't permit dates of a random nature for transitions of such significant nature. This manner of thinking makes appearances in sources originating from rabbis engaged in discussion regarding Moses, who, in accordance with tradition, experienced both birth and death on the identical date, the 7th day of Adar. The pattern underwent extension to other figures found in the Bible, establishing an expectation that dates held meaning of a special nature for purposes of calculating dates belonging to Jesus. If Moses, together with other prophets, displayed symmetry of this nature, without question the Messiah would present perfection of even greater degree. The hypothesis centered on calculation also supplies explanation for certain elements characterized as anomalies in superior fashion when compared to the theory involving substitution. For what reason did certain churches in the early period mark with celebration the birth of Christ on dates other than the 25th of December? If the objective involved simply providing counter to Sol Invictus, dates serving as alternatives create minimal sense. However, if communities of different types carried out calculations, making use of dates for Passover that varied, results characterized by diversity would follow in a natural manner. In addition, this theory supplies explanation for why sources from the early period engaged in discussion regarding the 25th of December frequently position their focus on arguments of a chronological nature rather than on polemic directed against pagans. Writers such as John Chrysostom provided defense for the 25th of December through engaging in discussion regarding records related to the census and times required for travel, not through launching attacks on worship of the sun. Their arguments point toward derivation of a mathematical nature rather than substitution carried out with strategic intent. The emphasis positioned on conception rather than on birth also shows reflection of priorities authentic to Christianity in the early period. The mystery belonging to the Incarnation focused its center on the word, assuming flesh, the moment of conception at which nature of a divine type united with nature of a human type. Birth merely brought into manifestation what had taken place already. This emphasis, rooted in theology, provides support for schemes involving dating, drawing their foundation from conception rather than from the nativity. And yet, the hypothesis centered on calculation encounters challenges belonging to itself. The concept of integral age, despite the fact that it possesses documentation, didn't receive acceptance in a universal manner. Numerous texts originating from Jewish and Christian sources demonstrate no awareness of this principle. Constructing a system of a chronological nature in its entirety on this foundation appears to possess precarious quality. Would reasoning of such abstract nature truly establish determination for practice related to liturgy? In addition, the date of the 25th of March for the crucifixion by itself came about as a result of calculation rather than from certainty of a historical nature. Methods of different types produced results of different types, providing the suggestion that the system in its entirety found its support on interpretation rather than on fact. If the date serving as anchor carried uncertainty, all calculations following in sequence transformed into matters equally open to question. Those offering criticism also direct attention toward the convenience characterized as suspicious regarding the 25th of December, coming forth from these calculations precisely at the time when Christians experienced the need for an alternative to Sol Invictus. Perhaps the method involving calculation supplied cover rooted in theology for a decision of a fundamentally strategic nature. Fathers of the Church possessed the capacity to provide defense for the date on grounds characterized as abstract, while in a practical sense achieving accommodation related to culture. The relationship existing between theories centered on calculation and on substitution doesn't face the requirement of existing in mutually exclusive terms. Perhaps calculations rooted in theology put forward the suggestion of a date that turned out to prove advantageous in strategic terms. Providence of a divine nature could accomplish work by means of coincidence of a mathematical nature. The Church possessed the capacity to give honor simultaneously to reasoning rooted in theology and to necessity of a practical nature. Certain researchers put forward the proposal that both processes carried out operation within communities of different types. Christians, dwelling in Rome, existing surrounded by festivities belonging to Sol Invictus, could have made the choice of the 25th of December in strategic terms. In the meantime, communities in the East reached the 6th of January by means of calculation. At a later time, standardization on the 25th of December could show reflection of influence originating from Rome rather than calculation of a universal nature. The appeal held by methods involving calculation for minds from ancient times ought not to experience underestimation. Within an era existing prior to the historical method characterized by scientific nature, mathematics appeared to possess reasonableness of perfect nature. If Scripture performed the function of encoding truth of a divine nature, for what reason not truth of a chronological nature as well? The pursuit of patterns existing in hidden form and harmonies found in the cosmos served as characteristic of intellectual life, spanning cultures. This approach also provided advantages in comparison to investigation of a historical nature. Establishing determination of the date of birth belonging to Jesus in actual terms would create the requirement for records possessing unlikelihood of survival. But calculation rooted in theology possessed need only for principles already established and dates serving as anchors, receiving acceptance. The quality of abstraction belonging to the method transformed into its source of strength, supplying certainty in locations where evidence of a historical nature experienced failure. The concept of integral age established connection to themes of broader scope regarding perfection and the quality of completion. Christ, serving as the new Adam, ought to display symmetry of even greater degree when compared to the first. His life ought to provide demonstration of the order of a divine nature, experiencing disruption through sin but receiving restoration by means of redemption. Precision of a mathematical nature in the act of dating provided reinforcement for claims rooted in theology regarding restoration found in the cosmos. Whether the 25th of December came forth by means of calculation, by means of substitution, or through some form of combination, the outcome carried significance of a profound nature. The date created linkage to points of turning in the cosmos, to solstices, together with equinoxes, supplying reinforcement for the claim made by Christianity regarding significance of a universal nature. The light belonging to the world made its arrival as light of a physical nature commenced returning. Time, rooted in theology, established alignment with time of an astronomical nature. The hypothesis centered on calculation ultimately brings revelation regarding the sophistication of an intellectual nature belonging to Christianity in the early period. These weren't individuals characterized by simplicity, giving acceptance to dates of an arbitrary nature, but rather theologians pursuing harmony found in the cosmos. Their methods could appear to possess foreign quality for minds in modern times, yet the impulse directed toward discovering meaning within patterns of a temporal nature continues to possess quality deeply human in nature. Through pursuing the act of dating what cannot receive a date, they established tradition possessing enduring quality. The confrontation together with the merging, Christmas standing in opposition to paganism. The establishment of the 25th of December signified a point of beginning, not a point of conclusion. For centuries following the point at which Rome granted recognition in an official capacity to Christmas, the struggle existing between celebration belonging to Christianity and custom practiced by pagans went on continuing. This confrontation, on certain occasions violent in nature, frequently characterized by subtlety, in all cases complex, gave shape to the holiday, holding familiarity for us in the present day. John Chrysostom, delivering sermons in Antioch in the approximate year 386 of the Common Era, brings revelation to the tension continuing in ongoing fashion. He supplied defense for the 25th of December in vigorous fashion, yet he gave acknowledgement to the reality that numerous Christians continued to take part in festivities belonging to pagans, marking the new year merely 1 week following. His sermons alternate between argument rooted in theology and pleading of a practical nature, delivering urging to his congregation to create separation between themselves and revelry not belonging to Christianity. The problem extended to depths greater than conflicts related to the calendar. Customs, practiced by pagans, had undergone evolution across millennia for purposes of meeting needs experienced by humans, creating marks for change occurring in the seasons, providing strength to bonds existing in society, supplying release of a psychological nature throughout months characterized by darkness during winter. The simple act of declaring the 25th of December as the birthday belonging to Christ didn't accomplish in automatic fashion the transfer of these functions to the holiday characterized as new. The transformation had the requirement of generations characterized by negotiation and by adaptation. Councils belonging to the Church, spanning the 4th century together with the 5th century, gave issuance to canons in repeated fashion directed against participation by Christians in festivals practiced by pagans. The very quality of frequency belonging to these prohibitions delivers revelation regarding their quality of ineffectiveness. The council, held at Trullo during the year 692, discovered it continued to possess necessity to deliver prohibition against Christians, engaging in wearing masks, engaging in cross-dressing, or engaging in invocation of Dionysus throughout the process of making wine. With clarity, habits from the old times maintained persistence centuries following conversion in an official capacity. And yet, positioned alongside prohibition of an official nature, absorption of an informal nature took place in occurring fashion. Decorations crafted from plants staying green, holding such prominence within festivals from Rome during winter, made their appearance in a gradual manner within contexts belonging to Christianity. Authorities belonging to the Church at first put up resistance. Tertullian had delivered mockery toward wreaths made from laurel, treating them as nonsense belonging to pagans. But with time, theologians characterized by creativity discovered meaning belonging to Christianity within greenery, possessing perpetual quality, observing symbols representing life of an eternal nature by means of Christ. The traditions surrounding the giving of gifts belonging to Saturnalia turned out to prove particularly resistant to change. Fathers of the Church in the early period, such as Gregory from Nazianzus, voiced complaints regarding the expense together with the excess associated with presents tied to the season. However, rather than achieving success in the act of eliminating the practice, Christianity with time gave it sanctification. The gifts presented by the Magi to Christ supplied precedent found in the Bible. Acts of charity directed toward those experiencing poverty transformed into an expression belonging to Christianity regarding generosity tied to the season. The sermon by Martin from Braga, titled De Correctione Rusticorum, originating from the 6th century, supplies a window providing view into persistence of practice belonging to pagans within rural areas. He offers description of Christians who gave honor to Thursday, the day belonging to Thor, through refusing to engage in work, who positioned wreaths made from laurel on their animals, who engaged in practice of divination on the day marking the new year. His frustration communicates across centuries. Conversion in an official capacity had not achieved reaching to depths within practice belonging to folk. The strategy underwent shift from prohibition toward reinterpretation, finding themselves unable to cause people to stop bringing greenery to locations indoors during December. Leaders belonging to the Church supplied explanation, treating it as representing the wood belonging to the cross or the crown crafted from thorns. Candles, possessing quality essential to festivals belonging to pagans during winter, transformed into symbols representing Christ, serving as light belonging to the world. Even the Yule log, with clarity possessing origin prior to Christianity, obtained meaning belonging to Christianity, serving as representation of the cross or representing the warmth belonging to love of a divine nature. This process involving reinterpretation established layers characterized by meaning that supplied enrichment to Christmas while creating trouble for those characterized as purists. A bishop from the 6th century could deliver blessing to the identical bow, crafted from plants staying green, that his predecessor had delivered condemnation toward 1 century prior. What underwent change wasn't the object itself, but rather the significance receiving assignment to it. Form belonging to pagans obtained content belonging to Christianity. Variations tied to regions made the picture undergo complication of further degree. Within territories belonging to Germanic peoples, locations where influence originating from Rome made a rival, experiencing filtration by means of missions belonging to Christianity. Customs from local sources tied to winter underwent merging with Christmas in ways characterized by uniqueness. The wild hunt, a procession of spirits taking place during the middle portion of winter, characterized by terrifying quality, underwent transformation in a gradual manner into figures bringing gifts, possessing quality more benign in nature. Deities belonging to local sources didn't engage in simply disappearing, but rather underwent makeovers belonging to Christianity. The element tied to feasting turned out to prove particularly a source of contention. The gluttony belonging to Saturnalia stood in direct contradiction to virtues belonging to Christianity, involving moderation together with charity. And yet, fasting during December turned out to prove unpopular and cruel in arguably fashion during the scarcity belonging to winter. Compromise came forth into emergence. The fast belonging to Advent would supply preparation for feasting belonging to Christmas. Excess transformed into something acceptable if preceded by restraint and if accompanied by charity. Attitudes belonging to clergy underwent variation to considerable degree. Certain priests, in particular fashion within areas characterized as rural, gave acceptance in pragmatic fashion to admixture belonging to pagans to considerable degree within customs belonging to Christmas practiced locally. Others kept to opposition, characterized by strictness. Caesarius from Arles delivered preaching in fierce fashion, directed against Christians who gave observation to omens on the day marking the new year, or who presented gifts possessing shapes resembling human figures, which represent holdovers from Saturnalia with clarity. And yet, even he found himself unable to cause the tide to experience stemming in entire fashion. The elements of a theatrical nature belonging to festivals from Rome during winter, involving reversals of roles, kings existing in mockery, inversions tied to society, discovered expression characterized as new within customs belonging to Christmas during medieval times. The Lord, presiding over misrule, with clarity experiencing descent from the king, possessing temporary quality belonging to Saturnalia, made appearance within contexts belonging to Christianity. Chapters belonging to cathedrals carried out election of bishops, characterized as boys, for the duration of the season. These customs created worry for authorities, yet they turned out to prove too popular in nature to receive suppression in entire fashion. By the time of the 8th century, Bede possessed the capacity to compose works regarding customs belonging to December, experiencing anxiety to lesser degree when compared to those who came before him. While keeping to correctness of a theological nature, he demonstrated curiosity directed toward practices existing prior to Christianity, rather than condemnation existing in mere fashion. This approach, characterized by scholarly quality, involving studying rather than engaging in simply denouncing paganism, served as marking for a phase characterized as new within confidence belonging to Christianity. The controversies tied to iconoclasm belonging to the 8th century together with the 9th century produced effects on customs belonging to Christmas. Those positioned in opposition to imagery of a religious nature created worry that trees receiving decoration together with scenes depicting the Nativity moved in veering fashion toward idolatry. Those supplying support for icons observed representation characterized by visual quality as possessing incarnational quality. God, having assumed form possessing visible quality, supplied justification for expressions of a material nature, belonging to faith. Practices belonging to Christmas transformed into battlegrounds of a theological nature. Raids carried out by Vikings, together with invasions, delivered challenges characterized as fresh. Paganism, originating in Scandinavia, made arrival precisely as customs belonging to Germanic peoples had achieved domestication belonging to Christianity. The process took place in repeated fashion: conflict in initial fashion, accommodation of a gradual nature, reinterpretation characterized by creativity. The oak belonging to Thor transformed into the tree belonging to Christmas. The ride carried out by Odin during the middle portion of winter produced influence on traditions under development belonging to Santa Claus. The capitularies belonging to Charlemagne deliver revelation regarding struggles in ongoing fashion. He created legislation directed against the telling of fortune on the day marking the new year, providing suggestion that the practice continued to possess commonality among his subjects belonging to Christianity. And yet, he also gave promotion to celebration belonging to Christmas, serving as force of a unifying nature within his empire, characterized by diversity. Unity of a political nature had the requirement of commonality of a religious nature, even if achieved by means of interpretation possessing flexibility. The synthesis achieving accomplishment by the time of the High Middle Ages stood for neither victory characterized by purity belonging to Christianity, nor survival belonging to pagans, but rather fusion characterized by creativity. Christmas had transformed into something possessing capacity of sufficient degree to engage in absorbing elements characterized by diversity while keeping identity belonging to Christianity. Theologians could engage in debate regarding interpretation characterized as proper, yet believers characterized as ordinary, carried out celebration, experiencing syncretism in unconscious fashion. This quality, characterized by layers, caused Christmas to possess resilience, yet also to possess controversial quality. Protestants belonging to the era of Reformation would direct attacks toward numerous customs belonging to Christmas during medieval times, treating them as corruptions belonging to pagans. Puritans would make attempts at delivering prohibition to the holiday in entire fashion. These conflicts occurring at later times showed reflection of tensions experiencing lack of resolution originating from the encounter, belonging to Christianity in its earliest form with festivals tied to winter. And yet, the very elements creating worry for those characterized as purists, involving the trees, the gifts, the feasts, and the revelry, supplied to Christmas its power of an emotional nature. By means of engaging in absorbing rather than engaging in simply rejecting customs practiced by pagans, the holiday provided response to needs experienced by humans running deep, which theology characterized by purity could experience missing. The darkness belonging to winter delivered calling for light, for warmth, for community. Christmas supplied all three in number. The confrontation existing between Christmas and paganism therefore brought forth as production, not victory for either side positioned in singular fashion, but rather transformation belonging to both. Customs, practiced by pagans, obtained meanings characterized as new, which they never held in possession in original fashion. Theology belonging to Christianity discovered expression by means of practices of a material nature which it gave rejection to in initial fashion. The merging together in confluence established creation of something possessing genuineness in new fashion. Neither characterized by purity belonging to Christianity nor belonging to pagans, but rather possessing distinctiveness belonging to Christmas. East creates meeting with West. The connection to the 6th of January. During the time when Rome arrived at settlement on the 25th of December, Christians dwelling within the Mediterranean in the East followed a course of a different character. Their selection of the 6th of January for purposes of celebrating the appearance of Christ on earth delivers revelation regarding traditions, serving as alternatives, together with priorities rooted in theology that would with time undergo merging with practice in the West, establishing creation of the season belonging to Christmas in expanded form, holding familiarity for us in the present day. The feast, known as Epiphany, carrying the meaning of manifestation or of appearance, came forth into emergence in the East by the time of the early portion of the 3rd century, existing prior in dating fashion to evidence possessing firmness for Christmas in the West. Christians dwelling in Egypt in particular fashion stood as champions for this date, establishing connection between it and traditions from ancient times regarding the winter solstice within their calendar, tied to the region and regarding the blessing belonging to waters of the Nile. For Christians in the East, the 6th of January in original fashion held in encompassment revelations of multiple character regarding divinity. The birth belonging to Christ, the visit carried out by the Magi, his baptism taking place in the Jordan, and even the miracle involving the wedding at Cana. This richness of a theological nature showed reflection of the emphasis belonging to Christianity in the East on theophany, representing the appearance of God directed toward humanity, rather than the focus in the West on incarnation in specific fashion. Clement from Alexandria, composing works in the approximate year 200 of the Common Era, supplies evidence in early fashion for calculations tied to the 6th of January. He delivers observation that followers belonging to Basilides gave commemoration to the baptism belonging to Christ on this date, performing calculation, drawing from their understanding regarding when the ministry belonging to Jesus found its commencement. The connection existing between baptism and birth showed reflection of logic rooted in theology. Both served as marking for entrance of a divine nature into the sphere belonging to humans. The method involving calculation belonging to the East underwent running in parallel fashion, yet experienced difference from approaches in the West. Commencing from the 6th of April, serving as the date for the Passion, theologians in the East made arrival at the 6th of January for the Nativity by means of their own reasoning involving integral age. This convergence of an independent nature on dates during winter by means of mathematics rooted in theology provides suggestion regarding impulse, running deep within Christianity to position the birth belonging to Christ within the season. Characterized by light making its return, the influence belonging to Egypt turned out to prove crucial in nature for purposes of establishing the 6th of January. Christians dwelling in Egypt established connection between the date and traditions belonging to local sources regarding the winter solstice, together with the flooding belonging to the Nile, which represented events receiving association with renewal and with blessing of a divine nature. The transformation of water into wine taking place at Cana established resonance with beliefs regarding properties of a miraculous nature belonging to the Nile. These connections supplied easing for conversion taking place in Egypt, while supplying enrichment to symbolism belonging to Christianity. As the 4th century moved forward in progressing fashion, East, together with West, transformed into possessing awareness regarding their practices of a different character. This could have brought into creation conflict in nature, yet instead it produced a spark curiosity, together with convergence of a gradual nature. Sermons belonging to John Chrysostom, originating from Antioch during the year 386 of the Common Era, supply documentation for this process. He gives advocacy for engaging in adopting the 25th of December while delivering acknowledgement to the reality that numerous churches in the East continued to hold preference for the 6th of January. The arguments belonging to Chrysostom deliver revelation regarding the complexity belonging to negotiations tied to the calendar. He presents the claim that the 25th of December possesses support of a historical nature characterized by superior quality, providing citation of records tied to the census, together with calculations tied to travel. However, his need to deliver argument in such vigorous fashion provides suggestion regarding resistance of a significant nature. Numerous Christians in the East observed no reason for purposes of setting aside their date, characterized as traditional, in favor of innovation originating from Rome. The solution, rooted in theology, turned out to prove elegant in nature. Rather than engaging in making selection between dates, the Church would engage in making use of both. The 25th of December transformed into the feast belonging to the Nativity in specific fashion, During the time when the 6th of January kept in retention its association with the visit carried out by the Magi, together with the baptism belonging to Christ. This division, belonging to celebrations, permitted both traditions to maintain persistence while establishing creation of a season possessing richness of greater degree related to liturgy. Jerusalem carried out playing of a role characterized as pivotal within this synthesis. Igeria, a pilgrim from the west, engaging in visiting during the approximate years 381 to 384 of the Common Era, provides description of liturgies in Jerusalem characterized by elaborate quality that continued to mark with celebration the Nativity on the 6th of January. And yet, by the time of the 6th century, Jerusalem had given adoption to the 25th of December for birth, while keeping in maintenance the 6th of January for other theophanies. The practice belonging to the city characterized as wholly produced influence on churches spanning the Mediterranean in the east. The 12 days existing in position between the 25th of December and the 6th of January took into acquisition significance of a special nature by means of this merger. What could have represented confusion tied to the calendar transformed into opportunity related to liturgy. The celebration, in extended fashion, permitted contemplation of fuller nature regarding the mysteries belonging to the Incarnation. Each day possessed the capacity to position its focus on aspects of a different character regarding the manifestation of Christ directed toward the world. Armenia supplies the exception, providing proof for the rule. The Church, belonging to the Armenian apostolic tradition, in particular fashion in Jerusalem, keeps in maintenance the 6th of January for the birth belonging to Christ, extending to the present day, never giving adoption to the 25th of December. Their persistence provides demonstration that the date belonging to the East didn't represent simply practice characterized as primitive, experiencing a waiting for correction from the West, but rather a tradition possessing validity together with integrity of a theological nature belonging to itself. The narrative involving the Magi discovered resonance of a particular nature with the 6th of January. These figures, characterized by mystery originating from the East, pursuing signs of an astronomical nature for purposes of discovering the King, experiencing newness in birth, stood as symbols for recognition belonging to Christ by Gentiles. Their journey, moving from east toward west, underwent running in parallel fashion with the mission of the Church itself undergoing expansion. Churches in the East, in natural fashion, experienced connection of a special nature to these fellow Easterners who delivered recognition in first fashion to the Messiah. The blessings involving water belonging to Epiphany continued to possess distinctive quality belonging to the East. On the 6th of January, Christians in the East delivered blessing to rivers, to lakes, and to seas, giving commemoration to the baptism belonging to Christ. In locations such as Constantinople, together with Alexandria, these transformed into celebrations of a civic nature characterized by major quality. The patriarch would engage in throwing a cross into the water, and young men would engage in diving for purposes of retrieving it. Customs of such nature possessed no parallel in the West. The emphasis in the East on baptism positioned alongside birth showed reflection of priorities of a different character rooted in theology. Christmas in the West positioned its focus on the word assuming flesh, representing the humility belonging to the Incarnation. Epiphany in the East marked with celebration power of a divine nature receiving revelation within the star, providing guidance to the Magi, within the Spirit making descent at baptism, within water undergoing transformation into wine. Both aspects carried matters of importance, yet preferences tied to regions gave shape to emphasis. Poetry related to liturgy, originating from this time period, delivers revelation regarding the richness of an emotional nature that both dates provided as inspiration. Hymns belonging to Ephraim from the Syrians, for Epiphany experience overflowing with paradox together with wonder, the Creator making entrance into creation, the infinite assuming quality as infant, water delivering recognition to its master at baptism, These meditations, characterized by poetic quality, gave shape to understanding, belonging to popular sources to degree greater when compared to treatises of a theological nature. The synthesis belonging to dates also produced effects on development of a musical nature. As East together with West participated in exchanging practices related to liturgy, they engaged in sharing traditions of a musical nature. The singing, characterized by antiphonal quality, possessing characteristic nature belonging to liturgy in the East, produced influence on music belonging to Christmas in the West. Hymns originating in Byzantine sources discovered translations into Latin. The season spanning 12 days supplied opportunity in expanded fashion for elaboration of a musical nature. Communities characterized as monastic frequently carried out leading in the act of adopting practices characterized by synthesized quality. Monks, possessing devotion to prayer related to liturgy, and possessing openness to traditions, supplying enrichment to worship, gave embracement in ready fashion to both the 25th of December together with the 6th of January. Their offices, carried out on a daily basis throughout the 12 days, established creation of patterns characterized by elaborate quality involving reading, involving singing, involving contemplation, which produced influence on practice belonging to the Church in wider fashion. Routes used for trade brought into facilitation convergence tied to the calendar. As merchants engaged in moving between Constantinople and Rome, between Alexandria and Antioch, they engaged in carrying customs related to liturgy positioned alongside goods of a material nature. A trader originating from Syria could engage in supplying description regarding customs belonging to Epiphany to colleagues dwelling in Rome. A pilgrim from Egypt could engage in gaining learning regarding the 25th of December while participating in visiting Jerusalem. Commerce established creation of exchange of a cultural nature. The dimension tied to politics merits attention as well, as Constantine, together with his successors, pursued empire characterized as unified, belonging to Christianity. Standardization related to liturgy served interests belonging to imperial authority. The act of marking with celebration the birth belonging to Christ on dates of a different character provided suggestion regarding disunity. The convergence of a gradual nature on the 25th of December for Nativity, with the 6th of January experiencing retention for celebrations tied in related fashion, supplied compromise, possessing acceptable quality. By the time of the 6th century, the majority portion of Christendom had achieved synthesis tied to the calendar. The 25th of December served as marking for the commencement of celebration, positioning its focus on the Nativity by itself. The 12 days following permitted meditation directed toward various aspects belonging to incarnation. The 6th of January brought conclusion with focus positioned on the Magi together with baptism. This season, in extended fashion, provided satisfaction for sensibilities belonging to both the West and the East. The merger established creation of benefits of a practical nature, moving beyond harmony of a theological nature. Within societies tied to agriculture, celebration during winter in extended fashion created fit with rhythms characterized as natural. The latter portion of December, moving through the early portion of January, served as marking for a pause within work tied to farming. Festivities in extended fashion supplied strengthening to bonds within community throughout the period of the year, characterized by darkness to the greatest degree. The structure spanning 12 days supplied framework for celebration characterized by sustained quality without excess. This synthesis, involving East together with West, delivers revelation regarding the capacity belonging to Christianity for adaptation characterized by creativity. Rather than engaging in imposing uniformity characterized by rigidity, the Church discovered ways for purposes of giving honor to traditions characterized by diversity, while keeping in maintenance unity characterized as essential. The connection to the 6th of January supplied enrichment to the 25th of December, establishing creation of a season, possessing complexity and meaning to greater degree when compared to either date in alone fashion, possessed the capacity to supply. The act of inventing tradition, trees together with Santa and carols. The journey moving from debates of a theological nature belonging to ancient times to imagery belonging to Christmas in modern times covers span of centuries characterized by invention of a creative nature. Innovators during medieval times, together with those during Victorian times, produced transformation of a feast of a religious nature into the spectacle, engaging the senses that we now give consideration as traditional. These customs, receiving supposition as ancient, frequently turn out to prove recent in surprising fashion. Their quality appearing timeless, receiving, crafting in careful fashion by individuals of a specific nature within moments of a particular nature. The path belonging to the tree for Christmas toward prominence provides illustration for this process in perfect fashion. Despite the fact that pagans indeed engaged in bringing greenery to locations indoors throughout festivals during winter, the tree, made from fir, receiving decoration, serving as centerpiece for Christmas, came forth into emergence within Germany during medieval times. Chronicles belonging to guilds, originating from Freiburg during the year 1419, delivered mention regarding trees, receiving decoration by means of apples, by means of wafers, by means of gingerbread, and by means of tinsel. These trees, representing paradise, standing for Eden, made appearances within plays characterized as mystery, carried out in performance on the 24th of December, representing the feast day belonging to Adam, together with Eve. Reformers belonging to Protestant tradition at first directed views toward trees for Christmas, experiencing suspicion, creating association between them and excess belonging to Catholic tradition. And yet, regions belonging to Protestant tradition within Germany, in ultimate fashion, stood as champions for the custom. Martin Luther, in alleged fashion, engaged in decorating a tree by means of candles for purposes of recreating light from stars moving through branches for his children. This narrative, experiencing recording in first fashion centuries at a later time, in likelihood fashion stands for desire, belonging to Protestants to assert claim to the tradition rather than standing for fact of a historical nature. Whether possessing truth or standing for legend, the narrative delivers revelation regarding desire belonging to Protestants to assert claim to the tradition while engaging in purifying its meaning. The tree continued to possess character largely Germanic, extending until the 19th century. Prince Albert, serving as consort belonging to German origin to Queen Victoria, brought into popularity trees for Christmas within Britain throughout the 1840s. An illustration originating from 1848, demonstrating the family belonging to royal authority, coming together in gathered fashion around their tree, produced as spark imitation characterized by widespread quality. What had possessed quality as curiosity of a foreign nature transformed into tradition of an essential nature belonging to Britain within one generation. Americans turned out to prove equally possessing receptive quality. Immigrants originating from Germany had engaged in bringing trees to Pennsylvania, yet adoption of wider nature experienced a waiting for transmission of a cultural nature. Godey's Ladies' Book, representing the magazine for women possessing influential quality, gave reprinting to the illustration belonging to royal authority during 1850, engaging in removing the crown belonging to Victoria in careful fashion for purposes of causing it to possess appearance belonging to America. By 1870, trees for Christmas occupied positions, standing within parlors, extending from Boston to San Francisco, the transformation belonging to street. Nicholas into Santa Claus stands for tradition of another type, experiencing invention, possessing genealogy, characterized by complexity. The Nicholas, belonging to history, bishop from the 4th century originating from Myra, transformed into saint, serving as patron for children by means of legends regarding the giving of gifts in secret fashion. Celebrations during medieval times, belonging to his feast day, representing the 6th of December, held in inclusion, visits of a nocturnal nature leaving treats for children possessing good quality. Regions belonging to Protestant tradition, engaging in rejecting cults tied to saints, experienced need for bringers of gifts, serving as alternatives. The Christkindl, representing the child belonging to Christ, served Protestants originating from Germany. The Netherlands kept in retention Sinterklaas, in spite of objections belonging to Calvinist tradition. These figures, characterized by varied nature, would with time undergo merging in ways experiencing lack of expectation by means of synthesis belonging to America. The history belonging to Knickerbocker by Washington Irving, originating from 1809, delivered introduction of street Nicholas to literature belonging to America, serving as burger, originating from Dutch culture, engaging in smoking a pipe. This figure, characterized by comic quality, possessed resemblance to minimal degree to the bishop, characterized by austerity, yet it achieved capturing of imagination belonging to America. Irving engaged in inventing details that transformed into canonical in nature. Entrances by means of chimneys, stockings positioned by the fireplace, visits during December. The poem by Clement Clarke Moore, carrying the title A Visit from Street Nicholas, originating from 1823, gave addition to elements of a crucial nature. The sleigh, reindeer numbering 8 receiving names, the belly experiencing shaking in similar fashion to jelly. Moore, representing a scholar focused on the Bible who carried out publishing in anonymous fashion in initial manner, established creation of imagery, possessing enduring quality by means of verses characterized by simplicity meant for his children. His Saint Nick possessed quality as an elf, characterized by jolly nature, possessing distinctiveness in non-religious fashion, yet possessing benevolence. Illustrations for Christmas by Thomas Nast for Harper's Weekly, in particular fashion originating from 1863 to 1886, supplied to Santa his form of a visual nature. The cartoonist, belonging to the Civil War, provided depiction of Santa supplying support to troops belonging to the Union, creating establishment of him, serving as icon belonging to America. Nast gave addition to the workshop located at the North Pole to the list containing children characterized by good quality, together with those characterized by bad quality, to the letters directed to Santa. His illustrations on an annual basis for Christmas established creation of vocabulary of a visual nature, continuing to experience use in the present day. Interests of a commercial nature took hold of these elements in seizing fashion, creating standardization and spreading of them. Department stores carried out installation of Santas for Christmas by the time of the 1890s. Campaigns involving advertising by Coca-Cola throughout the 1930s, receiving painting by Haddon Sundblom, brought to finalization the image belonging to Santa. Suit characterized by red quality, beard characterized by white quality, warmth of a grandfatherly nature. The bishop had undergone transformation into ambassador belonging to a brand. Carols for Christmas underwent transformation of equal dramatic quality. Carols during medieval times represented in original fashion songs for dancing, frequently possessing themes of a secular nature. The word experiences derivation from the French term carole, representing a dance in circular fashion. These songs in vernacular language supplied alternative to liturgy in Latin, permitting participation of a popular nature within celebration tied to the season. The Reformation, belonging to Protestant tradition in initial fashion, brought into diminishment the singing of carols, directing views toward it serving as frivolous in nature. Hymns belonging to congregations took the place of carols belonging to folk tradition within numerous regions. And yet, the impulse of a musical nature turned out to prove irrepressible in nature. Lutherans, originating from Germany, engaged in developing the tradition of the chorale, establishing creation of hymns for Christmas, possessing richness of a theological nature. Von Himmel-Hoch, together with compositions characterized by similar quality, achieved balancing of doctrine with melody. The era belonging to Victorian times experienced witnessing of revival together with invention belonging to carols. Clergymen belonging to Anglican tradition, receiving inspiration through ideals belonging to the Oxford movement, participated in collecting together with publishing carols of a traditional nature prior to their vanishing. John Mason Neale carried out translation of hymns in Latin from ancient times, such as Good King Wenceslas, engaging in adding lessons of a moral nature belonging to Victorian times to melodies from medieval times. In simultaneous fashion, carols characterized as new-appearing traditional made their appearance. Silent Night, experiencing composition during 1818 in Austria, experienced spreading in global fashion within decades. O Little Town of Bethlehem, experiencing writing by Philadelphia rector Phillips Brooks during 1868, in immediate fashion appeared to possess quality ancient in nature. The genius belonging to Victorian times existed within establishing creation of antiquity, of an instant nature. Songs characterized by newness that experienced feeling as old in timeless fashion. The singing of carols, serving as practice of a public nature, had the requirement of organization belonging to Victorian times. Choirs belonging to churches had carried out singing in all-time fashion, yet caroling within community possessed need for structure. The tradition belonging to Victorian times, involving caroling from door to door, frequently for charity, brought into formalization customs involving wassailing of older nature. Books containing songs printed in fashion created standardization regarding repertoire. What appeared to possess spontaneous quality as expression belonging to community actually had the requirement of coordination in careful fashion. These traditions experiencing invention achieved success by means of meeting needs of a genuine nature. The tree for Christmas supplied point, serving as focal in nature for gathering belonging to family, together with beauty of a visual nature throughout darkness belonging to winter. Santa Claus provided offering of magic, possessing benevolent quality within society, undergoing industrialization. Carols established creation of community by means of song characterized by shared quality. Each innovation provided response to anxieties belonging to modern times by means of practice, appearing ancient in nature. The era belonging to Victorian times turned out to prove particularly creative in nature due to the fact it encountered challenges of a particular nature. Industrialization produced disruption to communities of a traditional nature. Growth of an urban nature established separation among families. Doubt of a religious nature created trouble for faith. Traditions belonging to Christmas, despite experiencing invention in recent fashion, supplied stability together with continuity. They established creation of antiquity, of an artificial nature within times, undergoing change in rapid fashion. Roles tied to gender gave shape to these inventions to significant degree. The tree for Christmas made entrance into homes by means of sphere belonging to domestic nature characterized as female. Magazines belonging to women engaged in spreading advice regarding decorating. The angel positioned on the tree showed reflection of ideals belonging to Victorian times regarding purity of a feminine nature. Santa Claus, in conversely fashion, gave embodiment to generosity, together with authority of a masculine nature. Carols permitted participation of a public nature characterized by mixed quality within bounds characterized as proper. Dynamics tied to class also carried matter of importance. Families belonging to the middle class gave adoption to customs belonging to aristocratic nature, such as trees for Christmas, while engaging in adding emphasis belonging to bourgeois nature on children together with domesticity. Celebrations belonging to the working class kept in maintenance elements of a more raucous nature, in spite of efforts belonging to reformers. The Christmas characterized as traditional that came forth into emergence achieved blending of elements originating from various social strata. Variations tied to nation experienced development, even as traditions underwent spreading in international fashion. Pudding for Christmas belonging to Britain never achieved conquest of America, which possessed preference for cookies. Markets for Christmas belonging to Germany discovered purchase to minimal degree within France. Scenes for nativity belonging to Italy called presepi continued to possess distinctive quality Mediterranean in nature. Each nation carried out selection together with adaptation of elements, establishing resonance in local fashion. Technology brought into acceleration the invention belonging to tradition. Railways brought into enablement gatherings, belonging to family, together with delivery of gifts. Lighting, powered by gas, caused celebrations during evening to possess safety of greater degree. Printing in mass fashion engaged in spreading songs together with stories. Photography achieved capturing together with transmitting scenes belonging to Christmas idealized in nature. Each innovation appeared to engage in recovering practice belonging to ancient times, while in actual fashion establishing creation of possibilities characterized as new. By 1900, elements in their majority now receiving consideration as traditional had undergone crystallization. Trees receiving decoration, mythology belonging to Santa Claus, repertoire belonging to carols, experiencing standardization. These inventions achieved success of such thorough nature that Christmases of earlier nature appeared to possess impoverishment through comparison. Who possessed the capacity to engage in imagining Christmas, experiencing absence of elements, experiencing lack of knowledge to centuries of a previous nature. The process involving invention continues in ongoing fashion in the present day. Technologies characterized as new produce generation of traditions characterized as fresh, specials experiencing television, greetings through email, shopping in online fashion. Each generation gives addition to layers while presenting claims regarding preserving customs possessing timeless quality. The Christmas characterized as traditional continues to possess dynamism in creative fashion, participating in constant fashion, in reinventing itself while delivering assertion regarding authority belonging to ancient times. The mosaic belonging to modern times, moving from sacred towards secular and extending backward. The 20th century experienced witnessing of Christmas undergoing transformation into phenomenon of a global nature, achieving transcending of boundaries of a religious nature. What found commencement as commemoration of a theological nature transformed into juggernaut of a cultural nature, holding in incorporation memory characterized as sacred, engine of a commercial nature, ritual belonging to family, together with celebration of a secular nature. Gaining understanding regarding Christmas in modern times possesses requirement of examining how these elements engage in interaction, engage in clash, and in ultimate fashion establish creation of meaning for billions across the world in widespread fashion. The transformation of a commercial nature underwent acceleration following World War in the first capacity. Stores belonging to departments had engaged in featuring displays for Christmas, extending from the time of the 1870s, yet the 1920s experienced witnessing of marketing in systematic fashion, belonging to the season for shopping related to the holiday. Macy's carried out sponsoring in first fashion its parade for Thanksgiving during 1924, in explicit fashion, launching commerce belonging to Christmas following Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving experienced transformation in gradual fashion into the start characterized as traditional for shopping related to Christmas, in eventual fashion achieving earning of the name Black Friday during the latter portion of the 20th century, as retailers engaged in moving from ink, characterized by red quality, to that characterized by black quality by means of sales related to the holiday. This commercialization created trouble for leaders of a religious nature spanning denominations. They engaged in watching day characterized as holy in spiritual fashion, transforming into extravaganza belonging to retail. And yet, attempts directed at putting Christ back within Christmas frequently turned out to prove futile in nature. The forces of an economic nature experiencing unleashing turned out to prove stronger when compared to sermons. By the time of mid-century, sales belonging to retail during December established determination regarding survival on an annual basis for numerous businesses. Hollywood gave addition to influence possessing powerful quality. White Christmas, originating from 1942, created by Irving Berlin, representing an immigrant of Jewish origin, transformed into among the singles experiencing selling in best fashion of all time, establishing definition for sound, belonging to Christmas for generations. Films such as It's a Wonderful Life, originating from 1946, together with Miracle on 34th Street, originating from 1947, established creation of scripture, of a secular nature, providing teaching regarding values belonging to Christmas by means of entertainment rather than through church. These products of a cultural nature carried out performing functions of a religious nature for society, undergoing increasing secularization. They delivered preaching regarding generosity, regarding reconciliation belonging to family, regarding belief within wonder. The redemption belonging to George Bailey, together with the vindication belonging to Kris Kringle, provided offering of narratives involving salvation, experiencing stripping of theology in explicit fashion. Media of a mass nature transformed into ministry for those who never made entrance into churches. The era following World War in the second capacity experienced witnessing of Christmas achieving dominance of a cultural nature to unprecedented degree. Developments of a suburban nature held featuring of houses experiencing design for display belonging to Christmas. Television engaged in bringing celebration, experiencing standardization into every home. Perry Como, together with Bing Crosby, established creation of soundtrack for season characterized as sacred, undergoing secularization. Christmas transformed into religion of a civil nature belonging to America, experiencing exportation in global fashion by means of influence of a cultural nature. And yet, positioned beneath glitter of a commercial nature, communities of a religious nature kept in maintenance countercurrent. Advent obtained emphasis of a renewed nature, serving as period for preparation, establishing contrast with frenzy of a commercial nature. Mass at midnight continued to possess power for many individuals, providing offering of alternative, characterized by contemplative quality to excess of a material nature. Communities belonging to Hispanic culture engaged in bringing traditions of Las Posadas, supplying enrichment to practice belonging to America. Churches belonging to Eastern Orthodox tradition kept in maintenance dates during January, engaging in preserving alternatives from ancient times. The counterculture belonging to the 1960s delivered challenge to conformity belonging to Christmas. Those offering criticism directed attacks toward manipulation of a commercial nature together with pressure of a social nature. Christmas, characterized by white quality, appeared to possess less appeal amid conflict in Vietnam together with conflict of a racial nature. The plaintive question belonging to Charlie Brown, stating, "Isn't there anyone possessing knowledge regarding what Christmas concerns in its entirety?" gave expression to disillusionment characterized by widespread quality. The response of a biblical nature belonging to Linus provided offering of one answer, positioned among many. Globalization established creation of dynamics characterized as new. Those dwelling in Japan gave adoption to Christmas, serving as holiday of a romantic nature, experiencing absence of content belonging to Christianity. Factories in China carried out production of decorations for export across the world in widespread fashion, while in official fashion delivering discouragement to observation of a religious nature. Countries belonging to Islamic tradition engaged in debating whether those following Muslim faith possess the capacity to give acknowledgement to Christmas. Communities belonging to Hindu tradition within India gave incorporation to elements while keeping in maintenance identity characterized as distinct. Technology in continual fashion gave reshaping to celebration. Lights powered by electricity took the place of candles, bringing into elimination hazard involving fire while bringing into enablement displays characterized by elaborate quality. Specials experiencing television transformed into viewing, possessing required quality, establishing creation of moments of a cultural nature characterized by shared quality. Email, together with media of a social nature, produced transformation of customs involving sending of cards. Shopping in online fashion brought into revolutionization logistics tied to the giving of gifts. Each innovation produced alteration to practice while presenting claims regarding preserving tradition. Consciousness of an environmental nature delivered perspectives characterized as fresh. Those offering criticism raised questions regarding consumption in mass fashion together with waste. Trees possessing living quality took the place of those experiencing cutting in numerous homes. Lights of LED variety brought into reduction, consumption of energy. Movements advocating Christmas characterized by green quality gave advocacy for celebration, possessing sustainable quality. Festival from ancient times focused on light encountered limits of an ecological nature belonging to modern times. The controversies involving war on Christmas belonging to decades characterized as recent deliver revelation regarding tensions in ongoing fashion. Certain Christians hold perception of secularization serving as attack directed toward faith. Others give welcome to happy holidays, possessing inclusive quality, treating it as giving acknowledgement to diversity. Battles of a legal nature regarding displays of a public nature bring into exposure complications involving church together with state. What appears to possess natural quality for certain individuals possesses appearance characterized by oppressive quality for others. And yet, surveys in consistent fashion demonstrate Christmas keeping in retention resonance of a cultural nature possessing powerful quality. Even celebrations possessing thorough quality in secular fashion frequently engage in preserving imagery of a religious nature. Stars positioned at tops belonging to trees create evocation of Bethlehem, even for those lacking belief. Ornaments representing angels engage in fluttering on evergreens, belonging to atheists. Symbols characterized as sacred maintain persistence, experiencing draining of meaning in original fashion, and yet, in some manner, continuing to possess significance. Christianity in contemporary fashion demonstrates responses characterized by varied quality to Christmas in modern times. Megachurches carry out staging of productions characterized by elaborate quality, engaging in competing with entertainment of a secular nature. Churches of a traditional liturgical nature position emphasis on practices from ancient times. Communities characterized by progressive quality position focus on themes involving justice of a social nature. Each group presents claims regarding Christmas characterized as authentic while engaging in adapting to contexts belonging to contemporary times. The pandemic belonging to 2020 to 2021 brought into forcing reconsiderations, experiencing lack of expectation. Lockdowns brought into prevention gatherings, delivering challenge to assumptions regarding tradition belonging to family. Celebrations of a virtual nature took the place of presence of a physical nature. Disruption of an economic nature brought into reduction excess of a commercial nature for many individuals. Certain individuals engaged in discovering observances characterized by simpler quality possess appeal. Crisis delivered revelation regarding both fragility belonging to tradition together with adaptability. Immigration continues, engaging in enriching diversity belonging to Christmas. Parols originating from the Philippines bring illumination to neighborhoods belonging to America. Tamales originating from Mexico make appearances at celebrations characterized by multicultural quality. Customs belonging to Ethiopian Orthodox tradition deliver introduction to dates, serving as alternatives together with practices. Each wave, belonging to newcomers, gives addition to threads directed toward tapestry belonging to Christmas while engaging in adapting to patterns possessing dominant quality. Culture, characterized by popular quality, keeps in maintenance its influence by means of innovation in constant fashion. Songs characterized as new make attempts at joining canon characterized as classic. Services for streaming provide offering of content for Christmas of infinite quality. Influencers belonging to social media establish creation of traditions experiencing viral quality. Dances belonging to TikTok give incorporation to themes related to the holiday. Technology brings into enablement both preservation together with transformation. The functions of a psychological nature belonging to Christmas in modern times merit recognition. Within society characterized by fragmented quality, it supplies opportunity for connection. Positioned amid change in rapid fashion, it provides offering of illusion involving stability. For families experiencing scattering, it supplies justification for reunion. In spite of, or perhaps due to its contradictions, Christmas serves needs of an essential emotional nature which technology cannot engage in replacing in full fashion. Children continue to possess centrality to practice in contemporary fashion. Their wonder supplies justification for participation belonging to adults. Mythology belonging to Santa maintains persistence in spite of skepticism, characterized by widespread quality. Parents engage in navigating between providing encouragement to imagination and providing teaching regarding truth. The Christmas centered on children both engages in infantilizing together with sanctifying celebration, causing cynicism to possess difficulty. Christmas in modern times, in ultimate fashion, delivers revelation regarding capacity belonging to humans for meaning positioned amid complexity. Elements characterized as sacred, together with those characterized as secular, those belonging to ancient times, together with those experiencing invention, those belonging to communal nature, together with those of commercial nature, engage in combining in patterns, experiencing shifting in ever fashion. Rather than engaging in resolving contradictions, practice in contemporary fashion gives embracement to them. The beauty belonging to the mosaic exists not within uniformity, but rather within elements characterized by diversity, establishing creation of significance characterized by collective quality. The history, characterized by hidden quality belonging to the 25th of December, supplies enrichment rather than bringing diminishment to this complexity. Possessing knowledge regarding the origins characterized by arbitrary quality belonging to the date together with development characterized by layered quality brings into freeing celebration from fundamentalism characterized by false quality. Christmas possesses the capacity to possess meaning of a deep nature without possessing pristine quality in historical fashion. Its power experiences derivation from investment belonging to humans, experiencing accumulation across centuries, not from moment characterized by single quality possessing pristine nature. As culture of a global nature continues engaging and evolving, Christmas will without question undergo transformation of further degree. Technologies characterized as new will bring into enablement practices to unprecedented degree. Shifts of a demographic nature will deliver introduction to influences characterized by fresh quality. Change in climate could engage in altering assumptions regarding festival during winter. Systems of an economic nature will give reshaping to exchanges involving gifts. And yet, the impulse belonging to humans to create marking for seasons, to engage in gathering communities, to pursue transcendence, will in likelihood fashion engage in preserving some form belonging to commemoration during the latter portion of December. The narrative belonging to Christmas, moving from silence within the Gospels, passing through adaptation belonging to Rome, arriving at multiplicity belonging to modern times, supplies demonstration regarding nature, characterized by dynamic quality belonging to traditions. What appears to possess eternal quality turns out to prove contingent in historical fashion. What possesses appearance characterized by ordination of a divine nature demonstrates fingerprints belonging to humans. And yet, this very quality belonging to humanity causes Christmas to possess precious quality. Through engaging in making selection of the 25th of December together with engaging in reinventing in continuous fashion its observance, communities of countless number have established creation of meaning from beginnings characterized by arbitrary quality. Perhaps this represents the gift of greatest significance belonging to Christmas, providing demonstration regarding how humans engage in transforming dates of a random nature into time characterized as sacred. Transactions of a commercial nature into connection characterized by generous quality, traditions experiencing conflict into celebration characterized by shared quality. The history, characterized by hidden quality belonging to the 25th of December in ultimate fashion, delivers revelation, not regarding dictate of a divine nature, but rather regarding creativity belonging to humans, providing response to needs of a perennial nature for light within, darkness, for warmth within winter, for hope within times characterized by hardship. Gaining understanding regarding this history extends invitation toward participation characterized by conscious quality rather than consumption of a passive nature. Possessing knowledge that Christmas experienced making, we possess the capacity to engage in remaking it. Delivering recognition to its quality of inventedness, we possess the capacity to engage in innovating in faithful fashion. Observing its contradictions, we possess the capacity to give embracement to complexity. The mosaic continues engaging in forming, with each generation giving addition to pieces, establishing creation of patterns, possessing both ancient quality together with quality to unprecedented degree. Moving from gospels characterized by silent quality to phenomenon of a global nature, moving from calculation of a theological nature to carnival of a commercial nature, moving from star belonging to the east to tree belonging to the west. Christmas has engaged in traveling to distance far from origins, characterized by uncertain quality. And yet, at the heart, constants continue to remain, desire belonging to humans for connection, for meaning, for joy positioned amid darkness belonging to winter. In whatever manner the 25th of December experienced choosing, whatever traditions underwent accumulation, these yearnings of a fundamental nature maintain persistence. Through engaging in meeting them, Christmas continues, engaging in serving purposes which observers belonging to it in earliest fashion never possessed the capacity to have imagined, and yet could engage in recognizing as possessing profound quality belonging to humans, together with possessing necessity of a perennial nature. Very well.